This is a video walkthrough for this Surveyor SP292. We're going to start at the right front here and kind of work our way all the way around and then go on the inside. So, first thing you see on the right side here is you have access to this storage compartment. This is a pass-through compartment, goes all the way to the other side. That crank right there is a crank for your stabilizer jacks located on all four corners. These are just stabilizer jacks. They are not leveling jacks. You do not want to level the unit with these jacks. They will bend. These jacks are specifically meant to stabilize this thing from rocking side to side. Basically, it's meant to stop it from feeling like a boat and make it feel like it's actually planted on the ground. So when it comes time to use these, you would just take that crank and you would spin it so these come all the way down and they're just snug on the ground. You don't want anything more than snug, because again, they're not weight-bearing jacks, so you will bend the jack if you crank it down too far. So I just recommend push them to the ground so they're snug, and then that's it. Right up here on the front is your 12-volt battery. That's located right inside this box here. That's going to power things like your lights, your awning. Your refrigerator requires 12-volt, and in order to operate your slide outs, you do need to have a charged 12-volt battery on this thing. Underneath this cover here, it just picks up and pulls off there. It's kind of tricky with one hand, so bear with me here. So it does have two 30-gallon propane cylinders, and it does have an auto switchover regulator. So this regulator is directional. So these arrows here are facing towards this right tank. If you like draw from the other tank, you'd flip it the other direction. Or you can leave both tanks open. So if you leave this valve open and then this valve open, what will happen is once that first tank runs itself out of propane, it will automatically start drawing from the next tank over here. You just got to be cautious if you do that, because you can run yourself completely out of propane. So if you leave this in one position here and leave the opposite tank closed, that way when you run out of that first tank, you're not completely out of propane. You just know that first tank's all the way out. Come out here, switch that regulator over, and start drawing from the next tank. On the left side, you have the other stabilizer jack right there, and the other access to the compartment here. And then right here, you're gonna have all your manufacturer information, like your VIN, your weight rating and all that, and your tire inflation information. Make sure you always inflate the tires to what this tag says, not necessarily what it says on the sidewall of the tire, because the manufacturer does set these up specifically for this model. So just make sure you do fill them to that tag specifications and not necessarily the PSI on the sidewall of the tire. So right here, you have your city water connection, and then you have your black tank flush. That top one there, the city water connection, you just take your city water hose, you twist it on there tight, make sure it's nice and tight, because there's a rubber O-ring in there, and you don't want that. You want that O-ring to be compressed so that it does seal and it's not just seeping or dripping out of there. But if you hook the city water, you don't have to use your water pump. You could just leave the city water hooked here and turned on, and it will pressurize the lines, and that way you can keep your freshwater tank full and you don't have to use that pump. And right below that is your black tank flush. You would use this once you dumped your black tank. You'd hook that same city water hose up to right here, and then it'll spray some pressurized water into that tank, helping clean any debris or anything stuck or lodged in that tank, helping get all that stuff out of there, which will just help prolong the life of the tank and help reduce any odors that might develop from trapped debris in that tank. We'll go up here first and then we'll look down there. This right here, these are cable and satellite, part cable or auxiliary satellite incoming lines. So if you were to plug part cable into one of these, or an external satellite into one of these, it will power all the coax fittings on the inside. That way you don't have to run a cable from outside all the way inside the camper. You can just hook it up right here and then run coax to the TV on the inside. So right here, right down below all that stuff, is going to be your sewer outlet. It is labeled. So here's your sewer outlet. The one on the left, the handle on the left, that's going to be for your black tank. And the one that's directly right here in the front, that's going to be for your gray tank. I always recommend dumping the black tank first and then flushing it with the gray tank, and then coming back up there and using that black tank flush while both valves are still open. That way you'll get as much of all that debris and stuff out of there, and it'll keep it as clean as possible. And then you do have your 2 low point drains right here. Those are used when it comes time to winterize. You want to make sure you take those caps off and make sure there's no water in those low points right there. On your slide out, this right here is the vent for the range hood. So when you got that fan on, it'll be venting out right there. And then these 2 access doors right here are access doors to the refrigerator. Inside there you'll see where the refrigerator plugs into the 110, and it will also have the 12-volt battery connections. I recommend at least once a season you open these up and just make sure no critters have tried to make a nest or a home inside there. You want to keep that all nice and clear. Don't be alarmed when you do hear a little bit of air noise or air movement through there. There's a fan on the back of the refrigerator that will push air, so everything's functioning properly if you do hear that fan. So at the back of the unit here, you have your other stabilizer jack, and then you have your 30 amp shore power connection. This does require a shore power cord. This one does come with the unit. It does have this little retaining ring, and this is threaded so that you can twist that on there and make sure that doesn't fall out of there in case you accidentally bump it. One thing to be mindful of is you want to make sure all your appliances are turned off before pulling that plug out, especially the AC, because you don't want to hurt the AC by unplugging it and shutting that compressor off abruptly without giving it time to shut off and cool down. There's a full-size spare in the back here with that tire cover on it. One more stabilizer jack right there. And this is the main entry door. This will go right into the living area. Then you have your porch light and your 2 exterior speakers. Right below that, you have your fresh tank fill. You would just take this fitting off like this, put your hose directly in there, and fill that up till it says full on that tank reader that's going to be located in the bathroom. And you can just take any city water hose with fresh, clean, potable water, put it in there, and then you'll have a reserve of some fresh, clean water. If you want to use your faucet, you have to turn the water pump on, and the water pump will draw straight from this tank. This right here is the exhaust for your furnace. So when the furnace is on, the gas coming out of here will be pretty warm, so just be cautious of that. And that silver plate will eventually get pretty warm as well. The longer that furnace runs, the hotter that plate's gonna get. Underneath these 2 covers here, you're gonna have 2 GFI protected outlets. That way you can plug anything in you need to outside. And then right here, you have the access to your water heater. It says this little travel lock. You just pick that up. Maybe if I can get it here. All right, you pick that up, you turn it 90 degrees. Open this door. This door is hinged. So, up here, this is a pressure relief valve. If you ever want to remove the drain plug, make sure you pull this pressure relief valve, pull that all the way up. That way, if you can see the water's kind of coming out of it, that way it will relieve any pressure in that tank and it won't shoot this drain plug out at you when you try to remove it. If you try to remove it without relieving that pressure, you're trying to remove a drain plug out of a pressurized tank, that's going to spray some water at you, and hopefully not that plug, but that is a possibility. So just make sure before you use this thing that this plug is fully installed, or is correctly installed and nice and tight, so that it's not leaking. And you want to make sure you fill this tank with water before you turn it on. Because if you turn it on before you fill it with water, you will damage that heating element on the inside and potentially need to replace this entire water heater. So this is a gas and electric water heater. To run it on gas, you would just turn it on with the switch on the inside. If you want to run it on electric, you have to come out here, you have to make sure this switch right here is in the on position, and then turn the switch on the inside. That way it will run on electric. And then there is instructions right here in case you forget how all that works. And this is the secondary entry door, but we will walk in the other one, start at the back, work our way to the front, and then conclude this video. So this handle here just pushes up, and you can turn it for travel or push it back up and pull it out for use now. So as soon as you walk in, up here to your right is going to be the interior light switch, the awning extend and retract button, the slide out button, and then the awning light button right here. Or well, that's the porch light button, that little orange porch light on the outside that controls that orange porch light. Right next to that is going to be your radio, standard controls. Everything's kind of written out right there. Should be pretty simple to use. It does have a DVD video player as well. And right below that is your thermostat. That thermostat controls the fan in the AC itself, and then the furnace. You just use this button right here to select either a furnace, all the way off, fan, or AC. And then your temperature setting is going to be right here. There are lights underneath the cabinets as well. I'm going to turn those lights on. You just got to reach the switch in the center right there, which will turn the lights on. The dinette does fold down into a sleeping area. This table, you got to pull that pin right there on the left-hand side, and it kind of folds itself down and will fold down so that you can rearrange the cushions on the dinette here and make it into a sleeping area. Right here is your refrigerator. This refrigerator requires constant 12 volts to operate on either gas or 110 electric. The switches for on and off is right here. If you have this button pushed in, it's going to run on auto, which is going to be the 110. If you have that out, it will run on gas. As long as that those front propane tanks are open, this thing will run on gas. These refrigerators do take roughly 12 to 24 hours to fully cool to temperature. So don't spoil any food by prematurely putting it in the refrigerator here. Make sure that this refrigerator is all the way cooled to temperature before putting any perishables in there. Again, it does take about 12 to 24 hours to fully cool. One thing you can do though, since this does require 12 volt, as long as that 12 volt battery is charged, you can turn it on gas, turn it on, and then turn it on gas. Make sure that one of those cylinders up front's open, and this will start cooling down while you're going down the road, which will give you a big advantage if you're going far away, or if you know you're leaving, say it's Friday, you're leaving Saturday, you can come out here Friday night, turn it on gas without having to have it plugged in. It'll start cooling that refrigerator, so that way when you leave for your trip, the refrigerator will already be up to temperature. You have your standard microwave. Has all the standard controls on it. You have your range hood with a light and an exhaust fan. And then you have your cooktop here with your oven beneath it. The cooktop does have an electronic igniter, so you would just turn these to the light position and then click that igniter, which will ignite the gas and turn on the burner. The oven is a manual pilot, so you will have to come over here, turn it to pilot on, and then reach down in there. If I can kind of see in there and get low enough, but there's a little burner way back there in the back. Now you'll have to take like a barbecue lighter and light that little burner back there, and then your oven, you can adjust the temperature, and then you're ready to cook with this oven. There's also another light underneath this cabinet here for the sink. And then it does have this little fold-up table as well. That folds up, and this little arm would lock in place, holding that table up. And both of them lock in place, which holds this additional countertop space here. This right here is the water heater switch. So if that electric switch out there is turned off, and you turn this on, it's going to run on gas. If that switch out there is turned on, and you turn this on right here, it's going to run on electric. Gas will always heat the water faster because you're using an actual flame, but if you need to conserve gas, you can run it on electric. Right above this counter here, it's going to be your smoke detector. Runs off a 9-volt battery. Right on the back of the dinette is going to be your LP detector. That LP detector does draw from the 12-volt battery in the front. So if that 12-volt battery in the front starts getting low, that detector will start beeping, which will indicate that 12-volt battery is getting low and that can't function properly. So just make sure you keep that 12-volt battery nice and charged up. And if you hear it beeping, make sure you check for propane leaks. And then if there's no propane leaks, check the voltage on that battery, because that battery is probably getting low. So right here, if you were to want to watch TV or a DVD from that radio, you have to use this outlet right here with a video cable hooked to the back of your TV. Right here on those two satellite or part cable fittings on the outside, those are incoming. This is the outcoming one. So if you have that auxiliary or satellite hooked up, you can run it right here. Or if you want to use the antenna on the roof, you would use this one right here, and you would turn on your booster, which will boost your signal, giving you some channels to pick up through the airwaves. Onto the bathroom here. Have this nice full-size shower. Your toilet has a flush pedal here in the front. You just push that down. That will flush the toilet. You have a sink with some storage underneath. The light switch for the overhead light. This little travel lock on the shower here with this nice full-size shower with skylight for nice natural lighting. Just make sure when you travel, this lock is pushed out so that door does not swing open, because it is a actual glass door, and if it swings all the way open, it will hit the toilet. So just be careful that this isn't just swinging and banging around, because you would hate to have to break that glass right there. So right over here next to the sink, you're going to have your water pump switch and all your tank readers. To read the tanks, you just push the corresponding button you want to see. And right now, since this is plugged in, the battery is going to show full and the first tank's empty, as well as the black and gray tanks. To turn the water pump on, you just turn that on. You'll hear it make noise, it's pressurizing the system. And then when you don't want to use it, just make sure you turn it off. And then last but not least, you have the master bed area with two cabinets on each side for nice storage, some additional lighting as well. an emergency exit window, so in case of emergency you can exit safely, and then a area to mount a TV with antenna hookup. Underneath the bed, you just pick the bed up. There's going to be some nice storage area here, so you can store some extra blankets or whatever underneath the bed here by simply picking it up. And then there is some 110 outlets on each side of the bed for charging any appliances. This pocket door does have a travel latch. It's just a snap, you unsnap it, and the door slides shut. Just again, make sure that this is latched when you are traveling, because it will be banging around. You don't want to damage anything that doesn't need to be damaged. One final thing, the AC here does have this vent. If you have this vent open, all the cool air is going to dump right out of it. But if you reach up here, there's little tabs. You close those tabs. Now this AC is going to pump through each vent in the ceiling, which will cool the whole camper rather than just dumping all the cool air right out of here, right into the kitchen area. So if you are trying to cool the whole thing, make sure you keep this closed. That way it'll use the vents here to cool the whole unit. And that will conclude this walk on this 2011 Surveyor.